Did you see Joe Burrow's house was broken into during the game?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
So someone knows who lives there, and
He's probably got.
Oh, he's at the game.
He's probably got some cool shit. Dude's obviously impulsive and buys cool
Well,
things.
not anymore.
Well, had cool shit. He's obviously
the fucking Batmobile.
impulsive. Yeah.
So jealous.
So sick.
Awesome. Welcome to Hooked on Football, your go-to podcast for everything NFL. Whether you're a lifelong fan or just getting into the game, we're here to break down the action on and off the field. Each week, we'll dive into the latest news from around the league, including game recaps, picks and predictions, analysis and insights. From injury reports to power rankings and everything in between, we'll keep you connected to all things NFL. In order to keep up with us, please like, share, subscribe, and follow, because once you're hooked on football, there's no looking back. One more week of the NFL in the books, 1 week closer to the playoffs. Pictures kind of coming into focus here.
Yeah.
First few teams clinched playoff spots. Kansas City clinched both the division and a playoff berth. Buffalo also, although I think that was last week.
Yeah, Buffalo was last week. They were the first ones.
Detroit also clinched a playoff berth, although not the division yet, because of course they play in the toughest division ever.
Right.
Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Jets, Titans,
Whole bunch
Patriots, Raiders, Giants, all eliminated.
Whole bunch of AFC teams all eliminated.
If you noticed, 6 of those teams are AFC. Only one NFC team eliminated so far, which kind of wild.
Yeah, but also I feel like AFC, at least in recent history, has always been a bit weaker.
Yeah,
as a whole.
Yeah.
Obviously, the top of the division's always been real good, but
right.
Bottom of it is doo-doo.
Yeah. And then other news. Derek Carr, Saints quarterback, fractured his hand in in last week's game on a kind of a dive / tackle on the sideline. So he'll be out. Says several weeks, but Saints are out of contention, so
yeah, might as well just stay out.
Probably,
but
for
also
the season.
Left hand, so who cares?
Yeah,
don't be a wussy. Just kidding. And other injury news: Tennessee wide receiver Tre'Davious Burks underwent surgery on his torn ACL and obviously out for the season. At this point, might even not be good to go week 1, but.
Yeah, it sucks.
We'll see.
I kind of forgot he existed until I saw that he
tore
his ACL and was out for the season, though.
Yeah, I mean, he plays for Tennessee.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys, you forget they exist.
Yeah. Well,
except
when you can't beat the Jaguars.
It was Mayo commercials.
Oh, God. Gross. I'll never forgive him for the mayo in the coffee. That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's...
Most things I kind of view as a don't knock it till you try it. I will not be trying that.
Knock it. Also, ketchup on your steak. Knock it.
Yeah, no thanks. That's got to be a very bad steak to put ketchup on it. More injury news. Dallas had a couple season-ending injuries. Zach Martin underwent season-ending ankle surgery, so he's on his way to the IR. A free agent this summer, but on the older side, we'll see if he decides to hang him up. And then DeMarvion, I think it is, Overshown. Had that amazing play last week.
Yeah.
This week, not so great. Tore every ligament in his right knee.
Hey, when he does something, he goes all out. He gets the pressure, the tip, the pick, and the touchdown, and then he also tears all of it.
ACL, MCL, and PCL on the right knee. So he will almost definitely miss part of the next season.
Yeah.
I would have to think. I don't know the official recovery time or the typical recovery time, but
made the best defensive play in NFL history, and then now he's going to retire. Because he's young. He's not like
he's young.
Rookie. What is he?
I don't think he's a rookie, but he's young.
Yeah.
Rising star for them.
Poor fella.
Yeah. Micah Parsons after the game was pretty emotional about it.
Yeah. Sucks. There's finally a cowboy that I was like, this dude's kind of dope.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah, and too bad for the Cowboys. They were playing a little better anyway.
Yeah.
So that will certainly not help. Then more injury news. Isaiah Guerrero for San Francisco, because they can't keep running backs healthy, apparently. Although he did say in an interview, I don't know if it was post-game or a practice interview, that he feels good. Kyle Shanahan said that he's questionable for Week 15, short week, because they play Thursday Night Football, so see if he can make it with that turnaround.
Yeah.
San Francisco actually played really well this week, so they could definitely use him.
If you're, God, I don't know, because you got Rams, so that's big game too.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you play him because big game, or
San Francisco almost has to win out too?
Do you let them get? Yeah, I guess they are kind of in a win out situation. I guess you got to play him if he can at all.
Yep. Also, I added him in a couple fantasy leagues, so
you better play him.
I need him. So yeah, if that's the only reason you have, it should be good enough.
And then
lastly,
all we do
after I kick the camera,
all we do this week is injury. Injury news. Quarterback Greg Newsome. Greg?
Yeah.
Once I said it sounded wrong.
Cornerback. It sounded like quarterback to me. But
cornerback.
Just to clarify.
Greg Newsome, the second placed on IR, hamstring injury. So I guess good. I wanted the Packers to try to trade for him at the deadline. Dodged that bullet. Not that it would have happened still, but and then waived Kadarius Toney, which shocker.
Seems like maybe the end of the road for him.
Yeah.
Had at least three chances.
It already was, and then he ended up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Not good.
Honestly, he'd fit in really nice in Green Bay, though. Another wide receiver 2/3. You
Yeah.
guys need a few more.
Although I think he'd probably be the worst of them.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, might as well add a couple more.
Right. Now let's get to Pigskin Prophecies, the segment where we unveil our picks for this week's NFL clashes, break down key matchups, analyze the stats, and make our bold predictions. Who will rise to the occasion and who will fall short?
Not as good of a week for us, our picks this week.
Or for you.
It was, I guess, fine.
Yeah.
But I ended up 7-5-1. Jordan ended up 7-3-3, bringing our totals to 67, 35, and 28, and Jordan to 70, 27, and 33. Not as good as I was hoping we were going to be, but
yeah,
weird stuff happening. Which I guess takes us to the first game of the week, Thursday night. The Packers were at the Lions. Detroit was favored by 3.5. We both thought that Green Bay would win, but Detroit did, but they did not cover, which...
Missed it by that much.
Would that... I'm trying to remember how we've always done those ones. Would that make it yellow, not red?
No, because we picked Green Bay to win outright.
Okay. Yeah. But
I see what you're saying, because Green Bay covered.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it would be a tie. So
yeah.
How about that?
Because Green Bay covered, they just didn't win. How about that? So a little bit better.
Even better.
So there's a plus. Yeah, obviously Detroit ended up winning that one 34-31. Last second field goal. That was a heck of a game. Packers usual slow start because LaFleur starts every game against a good team like a wussy. And then they end up in a hole, and then he's like, oh, I forgot. Maybe we should play aggressively because this is a good team. And then they start playing aggressively.
From your perspective, it's kind of a imperfect storm because Lions usually start off very strong, usually have a methodical first or second drive and go down and score a touchdown. Usually with David Montgomery. Mm-hmm. Only when I don't bet on him for first touchdown. But yeah, Lions defense actually I thought started pretty well. Ali McNeil went out in the first or second drive, which meant that they were down to basically their third string defensive lineman at every position.
Yeah, but
they were still played pretty well.
They still played I mean, real well for that defense front. Like, I guess comparing it to how other fronts have done against Green Bay's O-line, Love's only been sacked 11 times this year, so
Yeah, I felt like they had a decent amount of pressure.
the fact that they were getting to him, they were obviously playing well because that O-line's played well all year.
Yeah.
But yeah, scoring I can't remember what the score was at the half. 17-7.
Yeah.
Only scoring
Lions went up 10-0 early.
Yeah.
Touchdown, 3-0 field goal.
Scoring 7 points there in the first half was not great, but what are you going to do when you're only running the ball and it's barely doing anything?
Yeah, Love with only 12 completions on the game.
Yeah. So. Only 20 attempts. I think first half had like 6 or something attempts in the first half. Like, why are you not throwing? Especially because I guess I might as well get into all that. I had it all in my power rankings notes, but like Love has been making, since he's gotten healthy, been throwing the ball better, making better decisions because he can move around a lot better and not always be throwing with guys in his face because he can evade pressure. And also he's like at like 10.3, I think, yards per attempt, 18.5 yards per completion. Like, it seems like, hey, this pass game's working pretty well. Why did we throw 20 times in this entire game when I mean, yes, Jacobs is playing very well, but Green Bay's that's kind of always been their identity. Like, don't bail on that.
The Lions' rush defense has been better than their pass defense.
Right.
No.
So that was pretty irritating, especially first half watching. And then they're so predictable. Although the lazy ass tendency breaker they threw in at the beginning of the half it somehow worked because obviously the Lions, Aaron Glenn had been watching and knows that first play of their first possession basically every week is a deep shot to Christian Watson. And they knew that. They brought a lot of pressure and shut that down. They also do that at the half. And because of where they were sitting in that game, I was like, do it again. Maybe it'll work this time. And then they ran the ball one play, and then they took their shot to Christian Watson, and it somehow worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's it seems like, because he did it occasionally with Rodgers when he's got his like great quarterback, he gets kind of lazy, it seems like, with play calling. When he had to deal with Malik, phenomenal coaching.
3-0 with Malik, was
it?
Or 2-0?
3-0.
Yeah.
Well,
he took over a game.
Yeah, he took over a game that was close when he took it over and they won. But with Malik, he has to use his coaching abilities, and coach is great. And then, but seems like he just gets lazy or something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it was irritating to say the least. That first half.
Yeah, I feel like I wrote that in my notes. I feel like the Lions kind of won the game in the first half. Not that Green Bay didn't have their chances down the stretch, but the way that they started kind of made the difference, in my opinion.
Yep.
Tim Patrick
came out of nowhere.
2 touchdowns. Yeah, first touchdown since 2021. He had 2 of them in the game. So, Jacobs with the touchdown hat trick, almost had 4 of them. Except for a offensive pass interference flag that was thrown,
which was a bit odd. It was a yard downfield, and then also, like, I saw watching the rest of the weekend so many collisions when dudes were running routes that don't get called.
Yeah, that's a weird one. It's they just decide when they want to call it.
And like also with that one, that there was a lot of calls and no calls that annoyed me, but that one was like, it happened. They didn't throw anything. The play developed, threw the touchdown to Jacobs. As soon as there was a touchdown, then like 3 flags all came out at the same time, and it was for that. And I was like, first of all, like super late. If that was what you wanted to call it when it happens. Don't wait till there's a touchdown. And then the fact that they let it go all of the entire rest of the game, hence LaFleur was hot on the sideline that next play because I think it was Laporta ran 10 yards down the field, just straight into a guy, and then there's a completion for, I believe, first down right next to that. And
the one that he was hot about was Laporta was only 4 yards down the field. It was a 3-yard completion. Gibbs went out of bounds with 2:01. It was right before the 2-minute warning. At least that's the one where he came on the field yelling.
Okay, he was hot for a bit of that drive.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was I did that one especially.
There might have been more than one, but that's
if you want to dive deep into the archives of Twitter where people were posting all of like pretty much every OPI from that game, like there was a ton of them. It's just that was the only one that got called, and it was like the one that actually didn't seem like OPI because it was, well, one, it was a yard, which legal there, and then also Watson had like just turned for his slant that he was supposed to be running, and then saw and like went to jump sideways to get through, and then they collided. Happens, but that was the one they decided to call, which, like I said, whatever. Called the first half of the game better, and then that doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's a lot of flags like that where it's like you just wish they would call it consistently.
Yeah, do it. Like, if you're going to be a douche about it, always be a douche about it. Don't be a douche about it one time.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, like, seen plenty of plays similar to that one that were called. But then, like you said, there's also a ton where if you're going to throw it for that one, you should throw it for the rest, and they don't.
Right. Don't throw it for the one that was the most legal. Throw it for all of them.
I feel like sometimes they, like, because it was a touchdown, like you said, like, maybe they were watching it and they were going to let it go. But then when they feel like the contact allowed the receiver who scored the touchdown to get open, then they just feel like they have to call it. But
that's not how you should be calling it anyways.
No, yeah.
If something happens, call it, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
But whatever. Like I said, if Green Bay would have came out aggressive, wouldn't have been, and then like the rest of the game had gone how it did, wouldn't have been close because they would have scored a lot more, not just dilly-dallied around handing it off for 3 yards a carry, because that's about all he was getting. He had the 3 touchdowns, but it was on like 80 yards, which on what seemed like 58 carries.
Yeah.
But
one more side note on the game. Goff became the first quarterback in NFL history with 5 completions to 6 receivers in a game. So
there was 6 receivers that had 5 completions?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So keeps breaking all sorts of meaningless records.
Weird what happens when you throw the ball a bunch of times.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like the Packers did a very good job against the Lions rushing attack, which has been one of the best in the league. So,
yeah, they I mean, people were complaining about their defense after that game, and there was, I mean, obviously there was times they gave up 34 points, but when there's that many possessions against that kind of team, there's going to be a lot of points.
Yeah.
But the fact that, I mean, relatively, Gibbs and Montgomery were held in check, and then Amon-Ra was held in check. The only guy that wasn't was Tim Patrick, who during the week is gonna be like, hey, we gotta focus on this guy who's done nothing ever in his career.
Yeah.
So, I guess good on the culture in Detroit. Next guy, step up. You see that your normal playmakers aren't making plays. You got to do something, and it seems like Patrick did that. It's like, realized those guys weren't going to carry him. So,
before we move on, there's been a lot of talk about the 4th down, the Lions going for it on 4th downs. Obviously, they went 4 for 5, so hard to argue against that. But the one they didn't get is the one, to me at least, that deserves fans' criticism. Like, you have the lead, you're still in your own, you're on your own side of the field. Don't understand going for it in that situation, and then the play call was terrible.
Yeah.
Running a pitch play, giving the defenders time to penetrate.
The play
When
call
you have
was
one of
bad.
the best offensive lines in the league.
That was
I
another
hated
thing
that one.
that during the power rankings I was gonna talk about, but that I didn't like the last two. They got lucky on that last one, but you don't convert, that's likely game over the other way.
Yeah.
Seems silly, especially when you don't need the few yards for your kicker.
Right.
He, like I said, got away with it. Got away with a lot.
You're talking about the last one?
Yeah.
I liked that one only because the defense was starting to wear down. I felt like I didn't feel like they were going to be able to stop the Packers from getting into field goal range, especially with the ball starting at the 30. You really only need 2 first downs and you're in field goal range. But
yeah, I don't know. Like that feels like game on the line. Anybody could have stepped up. They obviously got it, but got away with a lot last regular season. Didn't in the postseason. Hopefully that doesn't end up being the case again.
Yeah. Some of the ones that they really got hurt by against San Fran specifically were some to do with the fact that they didn't really trust their kicker. Some to do with
because I saw people. Someone said something about having iffy kickers. I looked last year; they missed 2 field goals all season.
Yeah,
so
I feel like they didn't let him kick very many long ones though.
They had 2 different kickers last year. I guess I didn't look at the lengths, but yeah, they were between the 2 of them. They missed 2 field goals all
Badgley,
year.
and I forget who the other one was, but
yeah,
yeah, I would hope that he would learn from those mistakes. That, like I said, the one that they went for and didn't get, and I'm not just saying this because of hindsight. I hated that call as soon as they made it.
Yeah,
like because you're giving up. You're literally giving the Packers 7 points if you don't get that because your defense was not holding up at that point of the game. Yeah, so I did not like that, but yeah, pulled out the win. I don't think technically the Packers are eliminated from winning the division, but basically I think they have to win out and Lions would have to lose out. So
yeah, and Minnesota would have to lose a couple.
Yeah,
because they're only at 2.
Well, if you win out, one of them's against Minnesota, so that would be 1 out of the way, and Minnesota would have to lose 1 more. I don't know what who has the tiebreaker after that, but yeah, I guess it would depend on if Minnesota beats Detroit in the last week because it was the division record. So yeah. Anyway,
speaking of the Vikings, that was our first 1:00 game. Falcons at Vikings. Minnesota was favored by 5. We both picked them to cover, which looked hairy for a little bit, but fourth quarter really got out of hand.
Yeah. Maybe the first game for Minnesota that can't really complain about them pulling it out because they kind of dominated it down the stretch.
Yeah, right. That 21 points it was 21-21 going into the fourth quarter, and then
and then also started off 7-0.
Yeah,
early on, but yeah. How do you feel about Kirk Cousins? He not playing very good right now.
No,
signed a big contract this offseason.
He seemed like he was gonna be for a little bit. He seemed like he was gonna be good, Kirk.
Yeah,
but yeah, he really fell off. I wonder.
He got like 7 interceptions in the last 2 games.
I don't know what that is. Is that? I mean, interceptions are. Well, I mean, you can't blame that on play call.
Yeah.
So, it really seems like the downfall of Kirk. A little bit sad.
Yeah. I would argue it was Minnesota's best performance of the season, or at least up there. Jordan Addison really showed out. 8 receptions, 133 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Also, another hat trick to go along with Jacobs's. Jefferson also pitched in 2 touchdowns. On 132 yards. Any opinion on where that duo ranks in the league?
I mean, all of a sudden...
Jefferson obviously himself is top 2 with Jamar.
But, that's Addison's up there.
Addison's a little up and down, but...
Yeah,
definitely talented.
I feel like he's been better lately.
Yeah.
If that's him improving, progressing, then
Yeah.
I mean, they're top few. They're definitely in the discussion.
Yeah.
But
their
Jamar and Higgins are too good.
Yeah. Although Higgins might be gone this summer. So
yeah.
Yeah. Darnold.
Jamar on his own is the best duo.
Yeah. Well, with how much they throw to him, he might as well be.
Yeah.
Darnold had 347 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, near perfect passer rating.
I don't get it.
Yeah, he looks good. Now, I mean, early in the season, I feel like most people felt like it was probably going to be a one and done season. I feel like
What do you? Yeah.
now they might.
So what do you do?
At the very least, franchise tag and trade him,
Oh yeah, get something for him.
or franchise tag him, and because you have McCarthy on a rookie contract, franchise tag him, let him battle it out in camp, or at least keep him around in case McCarthy isn't the answer.
Maybe they don't need Rodgers for McCarthy to sit behind and develop.
Yeah.
Maybe he can do that behind Sam Darnold, which sounds freaking weird. That wouldn't have been my first choice for a guy to develop my quarterback.
No. Speak of which, a little side note before I forget, Jets fans should really apologize to Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson because they thought they were the problem, and clearly they were not. At least not the only problem, because they've been worse this year than they.
An organizational issue. It might maybe have they been cursed, like the Lions were. Do they need whoever their celebrity fan is to come do basically an exorcism?
Fireman Ed or whatever his name is, and Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Does he count? He's not quite Jeff Daniels status.
No. Yeah, I don't know if they've been cursed. It sure seems that way.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Speaking of cursed, they are well, we'll talk about it when we get to the Jets game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mentioned Cousins signed a large contract this offseason, 4 years, $180 million. From what I saw, they could probably cut ties with him after next season. Their dead cap hit wouldn't be terrible.
That is so much money.
But yeah, Kirk Cousins has made more money compared to talent level than anybody in history, I think.
No.
Deshaun?
Well, Deshaun but also
was talented.
Cousin was good for, but Deshaun's up there. Why can't I think of his name? Why can't I think of his name? I think he was in Denver. He went around making a shit ton of money
Russell
as a backup. Did Osweiler get giant contracts?
Osweiler did get a pretty big contract with Houston.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. There's someone who, back when he got whatever last contract it was, people added up everything he got for like what he's actually done, and it was absurd. So if you remember who I'm talking about,
throw it in the comments.
Yeah. Anyways,
one quick stat on that game: Atlanta became the first team in all of NFL history in a 4-game span with 0 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions, while allowing 8 touchdowns and having 0 interceptions.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty terrible recipe. No?
Surprised they haven't been winning more games.
Yeah, they're on a legendary run.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of legendary runs, Saints 4-8 took on the 2-10 Giants. I have no notes of this game because I didn't watch and
Yeah, well,
didn't care to.
Either way, New Orleans was favored by 5. We thought they'd cover. They didn't. It was 14-11. Exciting. But not the least exciting game of the week. That one was later. So yeah, we got nothing there. Carr obviously got hurt during that. Drew Lock is still Drew Lock, unfortunately. And then a little more exciting game. Panthers 3-9 at the 10-2 Eagles. Philly was favored by 12.5. You picked them to cover. I thought Carolina would cover, and Carolina did, because Carolina is apparently also the Cincinnati Bengals. They're just right there against everybody lately. And that last drive, if Leggett had a little bit better hands.
Oh my gosh. I was pulling so hard for Carolina.
Who knows?
He had 2 drops on that final drive.
Who knows how that game would have ended? So
he's almost as bad at catching as he is at speaking English.
He's just Cajun. No, he's not Cajun. He's not the Cajun one. He's just Southern.
I don't know. I can never understand what he's saying.
Yeah, that's a thick accent.
Yeah.
But
for a thick boy.
But Bryce Young might end up being good.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah.
Last handful of weeks, at least, he actually looks better than Stroud, as ridiculous as that sounded at the end of last season.
I kind of hope he keeps that going because
same.
I like him. I don't know why.
I do too.
Because I know almost nothing about him. Something about him, though, I like him. But yeah, Philly still winning.
Pulled it out.
Yeah.
Although there's some drama in Philly. For those of you who didn't see, AJ Brown was asked after the game what Philly could have done better on offense, and he answered very shortly, passing. In other words, taking a shot at Jalen Hurts, which kind of came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard anything about any drama, but
I feel like vaguely I remember him being like this previously. Brown.
Wide receivers are typically divas.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are. Why?
Yeah.
Anyway, them and corners. Something about that being lined up outside, you get a little sassy.
Yeah.
That and Brandon Graham too.
Yeah, Brandon Graham during a radio interview was asked about Brown's answer to the reporter's question. He brought up the fact that Brown and Hurts apparently have had some sort of personal falling out. They said they used to be friends, and I more or less said, I know they're not anymore, but they need to separate business from personal, and just
not a good look.
Stuff that doesn't really need to be out there. Like, keep that stuff in house.
Your veteran,
just a distraction.
Captain of your team, airing out dirty laundry. That's not
great.
Not great.
Great for us.
We like that.
Yeah, we like it.
Keep it coming, AJ and Brandon.
Did you think that the Goddard individual injury had a bigger effect on their offense than maybe we would have guessed? Because they really did not look good.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not. He's been so meh.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Plus, their backup tight end did have a touchdown. So
yeah, no,
I don't know.
I think it's just their drama.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Eagles had been playing very well. One of the hottest teams in the league, if not the hottest. And then
I like it. I don't like not liking Philly though. But
I'm fine with it.
But I don't know, something about him. I don't like Sirianni. I want to like Jason Kelsey, but I think just because of his brother, there's always just a little bit of whenever I see him.
Yeah.
Other than that, he seems like a cool dude. But he's got a real dumb brother, so I don't like him. So therefore, don't like Philly. And then we had the 3-9 Jets at the 5-7 Dolphins. Miami was favored by 6, and
was in jeopardy for a while.
It was, but they just did it.
Well, thankfully, they were playing the Jets because it looked like they were going to blow it. But the Jets found a way. Mm-hmm. Although the Jets' offense did finally show some glimpses. Too little, too late. But Rodgers' first 300 passing yard game in 35 games.
Yeah,
I was a little surprised by that.
Oh, in 35 games that. I think just 35 games. I don't think that he's played because his last one was in 21. He would have played 22. Didn't play 23. So yeah, 35 NFL like weeks. But because I saw that and then I thought back and I was like, okay, he didn't at all that year. And then 22 was a rough year for Green Bay, so made a little bit of sense. But they seemed to be clicking. Devontae and Garrett both over 100.
Yeah, Devontae's first 100-yard game as a Jet.
Yeah, I think both had a touchdown, or maybe
I know Devontae did.
Maybe Garrett didn't. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, without Brees, they had.
I'm sorry, I forgot he was out.
The guy, I think Braylon Allen, and then who was the other guy? I can't remember his name.
Isaiah something?
Maybe.
I want to say Isaiah Davis, but I might be making that up.
No, I think that's right. They both had like 40-ish yards, so not great.
Yeah, Isaiah Davis. No idea where I pulled that from.
From back here.
Oh.
From your butt. But yeah, I don't know. Even when they look like they might win, they figure it out. And I mean, the classic first possession overtime. So
yeah,
not a ton you can do there other than try to not
especially
let it go
when you're going against the GOAT, Tua.
All right.
I'm not just saying that either. Tua currently owns the best completion percentage in the NFL this season, 74.5. Also the best completion percentage over the last 3 years, 69%. Also the best career completion percentage in NFL history, 68%. I was surprised by all three of those stats. Wow. I mean, he's known for being accurate and not having the biggest arm, but that's still impressive.
I anticipate over the next few years it probably comes down because there's been a lot of that. Like Mahomes' first few years had ended up with, once he was eligible, had the highest passer rating all time. That's come down. So it'll probably,
because he stinks.
But yeah, he smells bad, and he's also not good at football. But no, good. I mean, good for Tua. I don't know how he does it without a frontal lobe, but he's figuring it out.
Yeah, no kidding. For the last 4 games, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Just joined Dan Marino as the only Dolphins quarterbacks with 3 straight 300-yard passing games.
Nice. That's fun company to be in.
Yeah. Also, this game was a scoregami. You know what that is?
Oh, one of a new score that hasn't happened.
That's really 32-26.
That's never happened.
First time in NFL history.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
Scoregami.
And then also, I don't think we mentioned earlier, but the Jets postseason's missed streak now hits 14 years, which is the most in all of the 4 major sports.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Impressive.
So Jets fans, good on you.
Good job, Jets.
Probably not going to change next year either because I don't know who they're going to get at quarterback that's going to take them to the playoffs.
No. And I'd like to say if he stuck it out that maybe with all this new staff they're going to get, they can figure it out, but it might just be that building and that organization. So who knows?
I mean, honestly, Rodgers is probably their best chance next year.
Yeah.
But also at some point you got to rebuild.
Yeah. Because like we said, he hasn't been playing terribly. I mean, he's not 2015 Rodgers.
Right.
Or even 18, 19, where he had like 45 touchdowns and 4 picks or something ridiculous. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But he hasn't, I mean, his numbers are right up there in the top 10 or so of the league. But for whatever reason, they just are an absolute mess. And it'll probably stay that way. I don't see them fixing it.
That's being kind. Next game of the week, we had the 3-8 Browns, who have been playing people tough. At the 9-3 Steelers.
Jameis Winston.
Pittsburgh was favored by 6.5, which they did cover.
Mm-hmm.
Jameis was, the Lord delivered him from pick sixes, but not from picks.
I still can't believe that was a real quote. I love it.
Yeah. But for Pittsburgh, no Pickens, no problem. At least in this one. If you watch the game, at least in my opinion, you could definitely tell that they definitely rely on him, and without him, I think they're quite a bit less dangerous. But this game, the turnover battle kind of decided the game. Steelers had only 1 turnover. Wilson played a clean game. Browns had 3 turnovers, so tough to win a game when you lose a turnover battle by 2. As far as Pittsburgh goes, I kind of feel like their lack of elite playmakers might be their downfall in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about them.
They just keep winning.
I know, but as far as long term, I don't know. But also, I feel that same way about Chiefs. I guess they have the elite playmakers, but
do they?
Mahomes, Hopkins.
Yeah, say Hopkins and Kelsey were. I don't know that if I'd consider either one elite anymore, but
Hopkins has looked good since he got there.
Yeah.
I've been because I like DeAndre.
I say I've always liked DeAndre until now.
Yeah, I hate that he's a Chief. Indy looks like Predator. Which is kind of a cool thing, but
right.
That was just a side note. I wanted to get out there.
Mm-hmm. It's important.
It is. Yeah, no, that was started off close, but Pittsburgh covered. Next one, Raiders 2-10 at the 6-6 Bucks. Tampa was favored by 6.5, and we both picked them to cover, and they did 28-13. And Baker didn't play especially well.
No.
He like 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah, they started off very well. First 2 drives, touchdowns, led 14-0 early. And then Mayfield had 3 turnovers over the next 4 drives. Kind of let Vegas back into it a little bit. So after they took the 14-0 lead, Tampa actually had 3 turnovers and 0 points in 6 possessions.
Nice.
Which, not a great way to put a team away. But then they ended up scoring touchdowns on their last 2 possessions. So scored touchdowns on their first and last 2 possessions.
Rashad White all of a sudden.
Yeah. They've got their running back trio I like. None of them is like
Bucky Irving seems to be their best one. But
I do like him. I like his potential.
Yeah, as far as fantasy goes, White sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. But Tampa Bay takes over the NFC South division lead with their win and the Atlanta loss. Atlanta has the tiebreaker because they
Bucks.
beat them twice. But Tampa Bay has the Chargers, Cowboys, Panthers, and Saints remaining. So kind of a favorable schedule.
Yeah.
I think they're probably my pick to win the division. Yeah. Chargers will be tough. The other ones,
I don't think
maybe Panthers, but
watches because he's not a good friend. But just in spite of Roman and his hatred for Baker, I really want the Bucks to beat the Chargers. That would be funny. That would be fun for me.
We should watch that together if that happens.
When is that game? That's this week.
This week,
yeah.
Didn't have too much else to say about that one. Obviously, the Raiders are the Raiders.
Get your popcorn and buckle up for this next game.
Oh my goodness!
Because this one, there's a lot to talk about. So get comfy. We had the 2-10 Jacksonville Jaguars at the 3-9 Tennessee Titans, and Tennessee was favored by 3.5, and we both picked Tennessee to win and cover, and they did not.
Couldn't do it
because it was a crazy M. Night Shyamalan type.
We must have forgot they were playing against Mac Jones because we would have picked against Mac Jones. 10-6, Jacksonville won. Terrible game.
Yeah. That's all I got to say about it.
Terrible teams.
Yeah. Boring.
Not much to say. Levis, in my opinion, clearly not the answer. I feel like Tennessee needs to at least draft another guy to compete with him.
He's too much mayo and his fingers are all slippery and he can't throw it or hold on to it.
That's the problem. He's going to lose his...
He's just got lard all over his hands all the time.
Nothing else needs to be said about that game. Moving on to the 4:00 window, the 7-5 Seahawks took on the 6-6 Cardinals in a divisional matchup. Cardinals were favored by 2.5, and we both correctly picked the upset.
Because we're really smart.
Yes, and also because Seattle's been playing well.
Yeah.
Seattle won 30-18.
Which is that team must be good because I was looking at Gino's stats and he hasn't been that good this year. As far as numbers.
Don't write him off though, because he won't write back though.
They pulled this one out and
just a solid team.
Yeah, I didn't see much of this one. I was dialed in on a different game, an exciting game.
And no Walker in this one. Charbonnet had a big game.
Yes, I remember seeing that now. I was trying to remember who did all their...
193 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns, including a 51-yard rushing touchdown.
Chardonnay.
As far as Arizona goes, I do not understand their offensive identity or play calling.
No.
Kyler Murray, obviously one of the fastest quarterbacks in the league, only ran 3 times.
Silly.
Yeah. And then Arizona had, on the other side of the ball, had 0 sacks. Tough to win a game that way if you're giving the quarterback time to make his progressions and all that. So Seattle now holds the lead in that division, but they have a pretty tough remaining schedule. They play the Packers, Vikings, Bears, and Rams. So, 3 of those teams in the playoffs are in the hunt. Chicago's played quite a few teams tougher than expected besides this week.
Yeah, not this week. This week they looked like the Bears.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, Arizona's pretty close to elimination.
Yeah.
2 games behind, don't have a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Plus Rams in that division playing really well.
Yep.
Which takes us to, unless you had something else to say about that game.
To the next one.
Yeah, 10-2 Bills at the 6-6 Rams. Buffalo was favored by 4.5, which we
definitely thought they'd cover.
Both picked. But yeah, the Rams showed up in a big way.
Yeah.
A shootout game.
Yeah.
86 points, highest total of the week.
Yeah, that was. Stafford looked, and his receivers, Puka and Cooper, they looked unstoppable. Yep. They were catching everything he was making, every throw.
Puka's a dog.
He's
so good.
Yeah, it's always weird. He looks like one of my friends, Gavin, just with longer hair, and every time I see him, I'm like, that's Gavin.
Somebody told me this weekend I look like him.
Like Puka?
Yeah.
Probably a hair thing.
Yeah. I play like him too.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a shame that he's never been signed because he plays exactly like Puka. But yeah, and then on the other side, Josh Allen had maybe the best quarterback performance ever.
Best loss ever.
He had, I forget how 340 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 80 some rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns.
First player in history with 3 passing and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So obviously, first player to do that in a loss.
Is accountable for every single, well,
not the extra points,
but those wouldn't be there without him scoring the touchdowns. Yeah, poor fella.
Did he lock up MVP?
I mean,
it would take a serious downfall in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah,
or for Barkley to just go off, which Barkley actually had, by his standards, a down week this week. So.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it's still tough because Lamar's numbers are phenomenal. He hasn't looked as great, which I feel like will hurt him more just because end of the season recency bias.
I know in history, most MVPs go to a team that wins their conference or at least their division, and the Ravens right now are
not
behind the Steelers by 2 games.
So it's looking like maybe a Joshy MVP, which good for him. He deserves at least an MVP in his career.
Agreed.
And then also would be fun because he's another one that Roman hates. I don't know why he hates Josh Allen, but
I don't get that.
That would be fun if Tampa beat the Chargers.
I want to hate him because the Broncos passed on him, but
that's not on him.
No.
But then they end up with Bo.
Yeah.
So all good. But yeah, that was a fun, exciting game. Unfortunately for the Bills, their defense had a bye week. I don't know. Where were they?
I don't know. Yeah, their defense has not been great. Both of them and Baltimore's defense are kind of underwhelming this season.
I hadn't noticed that they hadn't been that bad.
No.
Yet. I mean, the Rams are liable to to have that kind of game at any
they have
time.
plenty of firepower.
So I mean, we'll chalk some of it up to that, but I thought that other than that they had been decent enough. But yeah, did not see that coming. I thought that was going to be not that close of a game because how the Rams had been. But
yeah, this was a second game in NFL history with 5 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns, and 0 turnovers between the two teams. So another
good offensive
fun
football
fact for you.
Yeah.
Rams, your NFC West favorite, or Seahawks?
Probably, especially because of the rest of their schedules. I'm going to say Rams.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that unfortunately for the Seahawks, they got a tough remainder and very well could end up 8-9 still.
Yeah.
But
on a selfish note, I hope Seattle pulls it out because I'm much less afraid of them as a Lions fan than I am the Rams.
Oh, sure.
Especially because the Lions have beat the Rams twice in a row, and it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Good teams anyway.
Yeah, Seahawks scare me a lot less than Stafford and Puka and Cooper and Kyron.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the next one, this one was also a fun game. Maybe not for watching, but just for knowing what's happening. Yeah. The 4-8 Bears at the 5-7 Niners. San Francisco was favored by 3.5. He thought they'd cover. I really thought Chicago would cover. I really thought Chicago would win because they'd been playing so well, and
the
San
Niners
Fran had not, and then also didn't have Mason or McCaffrey. But boy, did they prove us wrong.
Well, their defense finally showed up. Chicago had 2 yards in the first half.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, San Fran won 38-13. I think that's a little bit funny after all of the hype on how great Caleb and his new head coach were.
No interim coach bump for Chicago.
Yeah, was this their first? Yeah, this was their first week without. Yeah.
Not great for his resume.
No. But yeah, I didn't really look at the stat line for that. I don't really know what happened in that game. I just know I looked at the score.
I mean, it was over by halftime because Bears did literally nothing in the first half. The Bears are, I don't know, like, how to pinpoint them. I don't even, like, when I think about what they need next season, I don't feel like they have any glaring weaknesses. They're just
the Bears. That's their glaring weakness.
Yeah,
if they move and then change who they are, maybe they'll be good.
That's it.
Yeah, another just less severe Jets type of thing. It seems like.
Right.
You're the Bears. You're just doomed to suck for now. Obviously the Bears of the 80s.
Yeah.
Were
85, 86.
Phenomenal, but yeah. And that was it for the 4:00 games, and then wrapped it up with Chargers at Chiefs. Chiefs were favored by 4. I thought LA would win. Should have won. And then you had them.
That should be yellow.
I was going to say. You had them covering. They did not. 1917 off of even luckier kicks than Jake Bates's. His weren't really lucky. It's just even closer, I guess, than Jake Bates's makes, because he doinked it in.
For a second, I thought you were talking about in this past game. I was like,
no, his
what do you mean?
His nick in the paint
against Houston.
Yeah. I guess really Kansas City just has to do everything better, and they're like, oh, you thought those kicks were close?
We're gonna bank it in.
We'll bank it in.
To be fair to you, picking the Chargers, at least I didn't know that McConkey was gonna be out.
Oh,
that hurts.
Yeah.
Although Johnston responded from his down games and played pretty well.
That's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know why they're not more explosive.
Chargers?
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. Sometimes it feels like maybe Harbaugh's transition to NFL type coaching is maybe because like honestly sometimes it feels like you're watching like Michigan's offense when he was there, which was obviously great for that.
It's a lot harder to dominate the trenches like Michigan did.
Yeah.
And especially with Dobbins out. Well, McConkey, Dobbins, and then Disley was out for most of the second half. That's
big
3 of your weapons. So,
but yeah, they were right there.
Kansas City now 0-7 against the spread in the last 7 games. And nice little fact here: no team has ever won the Super Bowl with a 6-game against the spread losing streak. So
they're gonna win the fucking Super Bowl this year.
So they're gonna break another record.
I don't want to do this podcast anymore.
Side note: there's no way that it's scripted for the Chiefs or fixed because the script writers would not make it this obvious. Or maybe they realized everyone was catching on and said, we gotta dive.
We're doubling down.
Yeah.
They're gonna get the 4 luckiest wins ever.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. Although that one, it was nice to see that. I don't want to say officiating felt lopsided towards the Chargers in that game, but Kansas City was actually getting called on their crap, and it was nice. I was like, hey, these refs do remember that Kansas City can draw flags too.
We'll see if that keeps up.
Yeah. But yeah, they still freaking squeaked it out. Sons of guns.
And then final game of the week, the 4-8 Bengals went into Dallas to take on the 5-7 Cowboys. Cincinnati was favored by 5.5, and they covered that at the very end, winning 27-20. Dallas had a chance to win it. They had the Bengals stopped, blocked a punt, and I forget who the player was. Went after the ball, touched it, passed the line of scrimmage, made it a live ball. Cincinnati recovered it, get a first down, and then
scored, and
Chase.
That was it. Chase did Chase things.
Wide receiver one.
Probably caught it and then ran out of bounds like this.
Who's your number one, Chase or Jefferson?
Yeah, Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Jefferson, great.
Right.
But Chase is, I mean, he's always been phenomenal, but this year, like, dude's the man.
Yeah. 191 all-purpose yards in this game, 2 touchdowns.
He's trying to make his bid for Offensive Player of the Year. It's like, nah, forget Henry, forget Saquon. That's me. We'll see. I don't think that he beats out Saquon, but kind of at this point, maybe beats out Henry.
Yeah.
Henry's kind of quieted down.
Yeah, Henry had a bye week, but Henry and Saquon last 2 weeks have been a little bit down by their standards anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll do it for week 14 recap. I'll get those records fixed and we'll update you on those.
Yeah, a couple corrections.
A couple mistakes on my part. But.
Fool.
Well, let's get into week 15, which sounds crazy that we're already in week 15.
Yeah.
But first game of the week.
The middle of the season just flies by.
Yeah, it does. Tomorrow night we've got the 7-6 Rams at the 6-7 49ers. 49ers favored by 2.5.
Yeah.
Coming off of their big win over the Bears. I have the Rams winning outright.
Go back over to mine. I too have the Rams winning.
I see another shootout.
Wait a minute. I wonder if did they change the odds? Because I don't know if I am dumb and put Rams cover or if they changed the odds, and that's why I wrote Rams. Okay, no.
The spread?
Yeah. The spread. No, San Francisco's favorite. I'm just an idiot.
I see another shootout. I think Rams have a little more offensive firepower, especially with if Garendo's out, San Francisco running back 4, plus Debo has been not good.
No.
Although Juwan Jennings has
One
kind
of
of been
my
making up the difference, but
many missteps in fantasy this year was Debo.
yeah, I was a little surprised. I was looking at his fantasy output for the last 4 weeks or so and done almost nothing.
Yeah, no, it's been almost nothing all season.
Yeah.
No, I think Rams win that, especially if they carry any of that momentum, which I don't know how you don't after beating arguably definitely one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
So no, I think they're gonna be coming in
Plus
hot.
divisional game, competing for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Should be a good game. Another good Thursday night game.
I don't know how that tiebreaker would work out, but could be for seeding as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rams win that one. Then to our Sunday day games. 5-8 Cowboys at the 3-10 Panthers. Carolina favored. How many times has that been said this year?
I believe I saw a stat that it's the first time they've been favored in a game 20-something games.
Oh, wow.
Or something like that.
Well, hey, good on them. Yeah, favored by 2.5. I have them covering.
I do too.
Yep. Especially losing the best player in all of football, Overshown out.
Yeah, right.
Cowboys are
can't overcome that.
gonna be in rough shape. And like we said earlier, I really like Bryce.
Been playing very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dallas has been also playing better. But
Cooper Rush actually maybe a good backup.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still not a good team. So
yeah. Then next we have the 3-10 Jets at the 3-10 Jaguars. Won't be watching much of that one.
No.
Jets are favored by 3.5.
And for the first time, I think I agree with a Jets spread, especially one where they're favored, I should say.
Yeah. Sorry, that was 33 straight games as underdogs for the Panthers.
Wow.
So
finally favored. Look at them. Stepping up. But yeah, I've got the Jets covering that game. I know they always find a way to lose, but it's the Jags. So
yeah. The Jags did win against the mighty Titans.
That's true.
No, I also have the Jets winning. They've, like I mentioned before, their offense finally showed their capability. Plus, it just feels like something they would do to start playing well once they're eliminated.
I misspoke earlier because they were, I guess, still technically in playoff contention. Now that they're not, this is when they'll figure it out.
Right.
In all reality, they were out of playoff contention before. Yeah. So I just jumped the gun a little bit. I needed to wait till they were actually eliminated. And now I bet they went out. I don't know their actual matchups, so I'm not going to say that for sure, but wouldn't be surprised. Seems like a Jets thing to do.
I would be surprised if they went out, but anything else on that one? Then we have the 8-5 Commanders at the 5-8 Saints. Washington favored by a touchdown with the extra point. I have Washington winning and covering.
As do I.
No Carr. Plus,
actually,
Saints
I have the Commandres covering.
Wow. That's a bold prediction.
Yeah.
Washington coming off their big win over Tennessee 2 weeks ago. Had a bye week this week, which obviously good for them. Have a week off. Get some guys healthy. Supposed to have Lattimore in the lineup for the first time if there's no setbacks. So yeah, I see Washington winning this one fairly big.
That they'll need Lattimore in this game, but
yeah, I forget. I'm not even sure who the Saints' backup is, but
he'd already played this year. Who was it?
If you couldn't overtake Derek Carr, then he's not that good.
Right.
Is it Spencer Rattler?
Yes.
Or is he hurt? because Taysom Hill's hurt,
got,
but he wasn't really the backup anyway.
He did get hurt, didn't he? You almost wrote Satan.
Dear Satan.
But
this says it's Jake Hayner.
okay.
But regardless, Jake Hayner, Spencer Rattler, whatever.
Same.
Washington wins.
Yep. And then next 5-8 Bengals at the 3-10 Titans. Bengals are favored by 5.
That seems like a narrow spread. Bengals haven't been great, but the Titans are terrible.
Yeah. I definitely think Bengals can cover that spread.
Yeah. Especially because they need to win out.
Mm-hmm.
And Tennessee,
they're in
not good.
Desperation mode if they want any chance. I still don't think they have any chance if they win out, but yeah. And then anything else on that one?
Nope.
We got the 12-1 Chiefs going to the 3-10 Browns. Kansas City favored by 4. I think finally got a Kansas City spread right.
I believe they reduced it. I believe when the first time I looked it up, it was Kansas City by 5.5. So.
I think so too, because I don't think I would have put that they wouldn't cover 4. Because I had them not covering.
They changed it to 4 today when I looked. So,
I still might keep that they don't cover. I feel like they probably just win by another field goal, or they finally lose.
Well, they haven't covered in 7 weeks, like we mentioned. So, yeah, the line is still set at 4. So,
I'll keep that because I think they with Jameis. I think that, and with how bad they've been, I think that I think Cleveland can cover that. I don't think they'll win, but
okay. I picked Kansas City to cover. Don't obviously with their record against the spread lately, don't feel great about it. But Cleveland, I don't know, feel like they kind of had their moment in the sun against moment in the snow against the Steelers a few weeks ago. Jameis can't take care of the ball, and I don't know, just not that good of a team.
Yeah.
So I see KC winning and covering. Moving on, we got the 6-7 Dolphins at the 8-5 Texans. Texans coming off the bye week, favored by 3 points. I have them. I picked Houston to cover. Another one, kind of on the fence about, but I feel like Houston will be re-energized coming off the bye week, and then even though his suspension was warranted, I feel like they might get a little motivation playing for Alshire after
maybe
with him being out for a few weeks for that hit.
I have Houston covering that as well. Yeah, they're a good enough team. I don't know how I feel about it because Dolphins are liable to beat just about anybody, but for some reason haven't this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the 8-5 Ravens going to the 2-11 Giants, and Baltimore's favored by just a couple, 15.
Just a little bit.
I did pick them to cover.
Okay.
Coming off a bye, I think that Henry got his rest. I think he'll be back to Derrick Henry, and Lamar's been good all season. So, realistically, 15 is not hard to cover against the Giants.
Yeah. Actually, I have the Giants winning outright. I'm just kidding. No, I have the Giants covering, but losing only because the spread is so big.
They'll lose by 14.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously Baltimore's
That's a huge spread.
Way better than the Giants, but as we've mentioned multiple times now, the Ravens' defense is not great, so I feel like Giants might be able to score a little bit.
I still don't think I trust Drew Lock to score any points against any defense.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, and then 4:00 games. We've got the 7-6 Bucks at the 8-5 Chargers. LA is favored by 3. I picked with my heart because that's done me so well all year, and I think that Baker Mayfield wins it.
Okay,
specifically him.
Yeah, he's just going to play by himself.
Uh-huh.
I have the Chargers winning, covering, but I do think it'll be a close game, back and forth. I like that the Chargers showed some resiliency against Kansas City. They could have kind of folded after Casey took an early lead, and they had multiple players out on their offense, but they battled back.
Yeah.
Plus, Chargers need it to stay ahead of the Broncos. So,
if Bucks can have one of their explosive games, Chargers haven't given me any reason to believe they can keep up in any shootout.
Yeah, that's fair.
Regardless of how good Herbert's been. They just don't seem to have the firepower to keep up in any shootout. So if
I agree.
Baker comes out slinging like he is liable to do,
I'd be more than happy to watch the Chargers lose.
helps you out. Well, Broncos
If
out.
the Broncos win,
Yeah.
Next, you had the 10-3, maybe the game of the week here. One of the games of the week anyway. 10-3 Steelers at the 11-2 Eagles. Philadelphia favored by 5. Their drama makes me want to pick Pittsburgh to cover, but I do have Philly covering.
Yeah.
Sounds like Pickens is going to be out again this week, according to Tomlin.
Okay.
He said his status is best described as doubtful. So I feel like Philly didn't take Carolina serious enough. I feel like they'll come ready in this game. Obviously, when you're going against a team with 10 wins like Pittsburgh, it's easier to be locked in and
before
do
all
the proper
info,
prep.
I had Steelers winning. I think I'll stick with that. I think
To win outright?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Also, I think Philly wins because I need them to lose. So
they would never do that. Yeah. And then we've got the 3-10 Patriots going to the 6-7 Cardinals. Arizona's favored by 4.5, and they should cover that.
They should cover that. New England, not great.
Yep. I did have them covering.
Yeah, I also have them covering. Not too much to say about it. And then maybe for the final wild card spot, Broncos can almost lock it up if they're able to pull out the win when the 6-7 Colts come to town. Denver favored by 4. Denver sitting at 8-5. I think they moved to 9-5 this week.
I do too.
Although
I don't think they cover.
I was tempted to. Oh, okay. I was tempted to go with the anti-jinx. I just think that Denver's defense is going to be too much for AR.
Yeah. Typically, there's some outlier games. Neither are high flying offenses, so I figure probably relatively low scoring affair. Might probably end up hopefully for my pick end up close, but I think Denver wins.
The over under is one of the lower over unders of the week, set at only 44, so they're looking at like a 24-20 game, something like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a 24-21 game. Yeah, and then
we got some good matchups this week.
10-3 Bills at the 12-1 Lions. Detroit favored by 1.5. Essentially,
basically a
like
pick'em.
Pick'em game.
Lions get the bump because they're at home.
Yeah. After that showing by the Bills' defense, I think that Detroit covers 1.5.
Okay. I hope you are right, but I have Buffalo bouncing back from their loss and winning outright. Obviously, if I'm going to pick them to cover the spread, might as well pick them to win.
Yeah.
But, I think Buffalo's probably pissed at the way that at least their defense played against the Rams, and nobody slowed down Allen to this point. So Detroit's defense with so many injuries, it's going to be tough.
All they got to do is focus on one guy.
Yeah.
That's all they got.
Arguably, yeah. But I think Allen's run threat plays a big role in them winning the game.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm wrong, but I have Buffalo winning outright. Moving on to the Sunday night football game. Your 9-4 Packers take on the 8-5 Seahawks. Green Bay favored by 3. I think they win and cover.
I do as well.
By about a touchdown.
Yeah, I could, just because it's Seattle, I could see them losing, but I could also see it being a blowout in Packers' favor. Hoping obviously for the latter, but Seahawks at random times have definitely gotten the better of them for whatever reason. Freaking fail, Mary.
You guys struggle against the NFC West, it seems. Arizona, San Fran, Seattle.
Yeah. You know what? I hate the NFC West. I guess
I
Arizona.
feel like San Francisco.
It
and
was
Arizona,
just the one game,
playoff
the
game.
one NFC, I believe, championship game.
Kurt Warner and Fitzgerald. Is that the one or no?
No, it wasn't Warner.
Carson Palmer.
That would have been it was too recent for Warner. But yeah, it was the.
I was trying to think of their last good.
Larry Fitzgerald, basically just him in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
One play took it.
So that was a conference championship?
I believe
Carson Palmer went to a Super Bowl?
Maybe it was a divisional. Now
I'm not saying you're wrong. That just
well, once you said Carson Palmer in the Super Bowl, I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound right. It could be right, but
yeah. Let's see, Cardinals versus Packers playoffs.
26-20 in overtime.
Yeah, was that 2015? What?
It was Carson Palmer.
Divisional. So not conference championship.
Yeah.
Those were all against freaking stupid 49ers. And then maybe the Fail Mary was also that might have been the year that Seattle won it all. That one might have been that one, I think, was the conference championship. Let's see, Fail Mary. That was in 2012.
Oh, 2016 was when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl to play the Broncos. They beat the Cardinals 49-15 in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, great.
So at least you say your Packers got saved from being embarrassed by Cam Newton.
Yeah. Or maybe keeping Cam Newton out of ever being a Super Bowl.
We would have had another Broncos-Packers Super Bowl.
Oh, that would have been fun.
2 in my lifetime.
I mean, that would have been prior to us being friends, but yeah, that would have been, dude, Rodgers Manning. That would have been a pretty sweet Super Bowl matchup.
Mm-hmm.
What could have been.
Yep.
Oh well. Yeah. Anyway, Packers cover.
Yep. And then we got a Monday Night Football doubleheader.
Woot woot.
2 not very exciting games, in my opinion.
Not at all. 4-9.
I feel like every time there's a doubleheader on Monday night, they're both terrible.
Yeah. Why do you guys do that? 4-9 Bears at the 11-2 Vikings. Minnesota favored by 7, obviously. I believe I had Vikings not covering but winning.
I was tempted to pick that, but I'll stick with. I picked Minnesota to win and cover. Obviously, played very well this week.
Now realizing that this was their first week with their interim, and then they performed so poorly. Maybe they're not going to be the Bears of a few weeks ago. They might be worse, but I'll stick with it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears covered, or I'd be shocked if they won, because I would love for the Vikings to lose. But Minnesota, I got them winning and covering. And then final game of the week, 6-7 Falcons at the 2-11 Raiders. Atlanta favored by 4.5. Atlanta not very good, but Vegas also much worse. I think it might be close throughout the first half. But yeah, I think Atlanta pulls away and wins and covers.
I think same. Atlanta, not same as you, same as last. I think Atlanta wins, but I don't think they cover.
Oh, okay.
I think Kirko Chains has been playing too poorly, and I guess I just don't really see him turning it around. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I just don't see it. So
I don't think the Raiders are going to mess around with their draft picks. So
I too. Well, Whenever you think that
Right.
teams are dumb and
Yeah.
and win, as dumb as that sounds, saying teams are dumb and win, it seems like
Sometimes it is dumb.
hey, you're eliminated. You're 2-11.
Or
Just
play your
ride it
starters
out.
for a half and play hard, and then boom.
Yeah, or
Nobody would do that in
No.
week 15 though.
but yeah, take your draft pick. Try to get a good draft pick. Be like the NBA a little bit.
I feel like teams
Once you're
believe
eliminated-
in football gods. They don't want to piss off the football gods.
That's true.
and
That's true.
not be true to the game or what have you.
But
So yeah, that'll do it for our picks for this week. Don't bet on those.
yeah, don't. No, a couple weeks ago, bet on those ones if you can.
Yeah, go back.
Do that.
Go back and bet on those ones.
But yeah, these ones, a lot of them I didn't feel great about. But
Yeah. Well,
if I could just
some
straight up pick them, I
some good
feel
games.
okay. But some of them spread, I'm like, I don't know. That 15-point spread, I don't know. But they'll probably cover it. Maybe they'll cover it.
Now it's time to dive into the Hooked Hierarchy, the part of the pod where we unveil our top 10 NFL squads, ranking teams based on performances, stats, and maybe a little bias. Who's rising to the top and who's slipping down the ranks. Get ready for some heated debates and some surprising picks as we break down the best of the best.
I had a bit of a tough time with my rankings this week.
Yeah, I did too. And then with my bottom few, I just got lazy because I was like, they're all interchangeable. I don't know what to do with them.
Agreed. I'll start with my number 10. Have the Ravens coming off a bye week. Had them at 10 last week. No reason to move them up or down. Also, I had the Broncos and Chargers just ahead of them. No real reason to move them either.
Yeah.
So Broncos also on a bye. Chargers lost a close game to Kansas City. So yeah.
Left it all the same. I had Denver at my 10.
I think that's what you had last week.
Yeah, and I left them again. It was a bye. Kansas or Chargers were right above them, so I didn't know what to do here.
Wasn't a bad enough loss by the Chargers to move them down. So plus all three of those teams I just mentioned all have the same record. So
yep.
I think probably both of our 8 through 10. That's how it was last week anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, didn't do anything there. And then at my number 9, I got the Chargers. Slow start, but played Kansas City very close. And then should have won that, but
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Kansas City got saved by a lucky doink.
At number 9, I had the Broncos, as I basically already gave away. But yeah, coming off a bye week, no reason to move them either.
Yeah.
Big game against the Colts this week. So if they can pull that one out, maybe give me some reason to move them up.
Yeah.
But right now I have the Chargers in my 8 spot. I was impressed with the way that they battled Kansas City despite being down some of their offensive weapons. Yeah.
I've got Baltimore at the in my 8 spot. They had a nice late bye, so we'll see what they do.
Same 8 through 10.
Yep. And then at 7, I got the Packers. They moved down so far just because that type of coaching isn't going to get him anywhere, and he doesn't seem to learn. But real slow start. They talk every week about we got to start faster, and then they don't do anything as far as play calling to change that. So I don't know if you're just thinking, got to start faster. Jacobs, you better break one off for 60 yards to make us start faster. We're not going to do anything to help this faster start, but you guys got to start faster. And then obviously great second half. But they just gotta. I talked about how Love has been playing real well the last few weeks. So lean on that, and then let the run game also fill in how it's supposed to. Did you die?
My computer died.
Your computer died?
I think I can remember.
Okay.
Is
this your? No.
Were you done with your number 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had Packers at 7 last week. Actually kept them there. Didn't have reason to drop them below any of the teams behind them. I thought they played one of the. I mean, obviously, I think the Lions are one of the best teams in the league. Packers played them tough. So I kept them at number 7. Number 6, I believe I had the.
Still logged into.
Oh,
apparently your Google on here.
I dropped the Buffalo Bills down, coming off their loss to the Rams. Josh Allen, obviously, a stud. Their defense showed some weaknesses in that one, so moved them down a little bit. But obviously, still think they're one of the best teams in the league. Still probably second best team in the AFC in my opinion. Although the Steelers are making a case.
Yeah, sure are. At my number 6, I've got the Chiefs. I didn't feel like moving them up after a barely lucky win.
To be fair, we never feel like moving them.
No, never. Even if they were to have a week where they beat the Lions, the Eagles, the Bills, I still wouldn't want to move them up. I'd leave them at 6. Yeah, they keep getting lucky. Yeah, that's all I got to say about them. And then at number 5, I got the Steelers. Something I've meant to mention during the recap. I've never seen a perfect time of possession split. The time of possession in that game was 30 minutes to 30 minutes.
In which game?
The Steelers.
Browns?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never seen that either.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a time of possession gami.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that has. I wonder if it is. I wonder if that's. I feel like it's got to have happened before, but
yeah, probably.
But also, you'd think every score has happened so far, and they haven't all happened.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, they looked a little hairy to start, but they ended up winning pretty convincingly at the end, like they should have. Even though it was a tough divisional game.
Yeah. At my number 5. Wait.
Yeah.
Did I only do? No, just kidding. My number 5, I have the Vikings. I was tempted to move them up after their convincing win, but I don't think Atlanta's a very good team. And honestly, my number 4 and 5, 3, 4, 5 are fairly interchangeable right now. Yeah. But been impressed with Darnold. Kind of thought it was a flash in the pan to start the season, but starting to change my mind a little bit. Obviously, having all the weapons that they have there helps
a lot.
But plenty of quarterbacks out there that wouldn't take advantage of it. So also, little shout out Kevin O'Connell. I think is very underrated. Yeah, I like him a lot.
I do too,
even
unfortunately.
If he is in the division. Yeah. But yeah, I like most of the guys out of that coaching tree.
Yeah, it's really annoying that I like, well, other than the Bears, I like all the coaching staffs in the NFC North.
Yeah.
I'd like to hate them, though.
And then at number 4, I had the Steelers. If I had another chance to do over, might move them above the Chiefs, but Chiefs only one loss, so I try hard not to be biased because I hate the Chiefs. Although I don't really like the Steelers either. Yeah, Russell Wilson. But yeah, had the Steelers at number 4.
I feel like I try hard not to be biased, but also the Chiefs give me, I feel like, enough with their super luck and almost losing to terrible teams to move them down as far as I did.
Yeah.
But at my number 4, I got the Vikings. I guess they've finally done enough to convince me that maybe Darnold's decent enough to be the quarterback of that team, a very well-coached team with a lot of weapons. He doesn't mess up, unfortunately. Was close, like we said earlier, until fourth quarter. Then it really got out of hand, which from their record is how you would expect that game to be, is out of hand. But
It's kind of crazy to think back to the game that we went to, Vikings-Lions, how they had a lead and early in the game and at the end of the game before they gave it up. But that game is the difference between the number one seed in the NFC and the North Crown right now.
Yeah, crazy. We were there. We saw it happen.
Great game.
And then at my number 3, I got the Bills. They're really still so high just because of Josh Allen. Like I said earlier, there's the actual stats: 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then 81 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. But defense was rough. They haven't been that bad all season, so hopefully for them it doesn't stay that way going forward. But yeah, so I got them at 3.
My number 3 is the Chiefs. Kind of same shit we say every week.
Yep.
Keep getting lucky, but keep winning. So, not much I want to say about them. Then at number 2, got the Eagles. Although that not a great win against Carolina, and the drama makes me worried for them as much as I can be worried about a team I don't care about.
Yeah, right.
Saquon
Felt
down week, but he's obviously gonna
Yeah.
bounce back. They're gonna be dangerous in the playoffs, especially because they're gonna have home games, if not all the way throughout.
Yeah.
Probably, unless they face the Lions. So
Yeah. I also had him at 2. Same thing. The drama and the close game with them worries me, but I don't feel like I could move them down in the power rankings over drama.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously still a great team. And then number 1, obviously still the Lions. Heck of a game against Green Bay. Talked earlier. Don't really like Campbell's decision making sometimes. They got away with it. Hopefully it doesn't bite him in the butt in the postseason again. But luckily they got their little mini bye finally and can get rested up.
Yeah.
And hopefully quit getting some injuries this offseason. They need to address that strength and conditioning coaching position because it's rough.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing in there. Just giving everyone osteoporosis.
My number 1, I had Lions also. I agree that some of Campbell's choices are not the greatest, but when you have buy-in from the entire roster like they do, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
And from everything we've heard, all the players there love him, love his aggressiveness, and gonna ride with him to whatever end.
Yeah.
So yeah, got them at number 1. Big game against Buffalo might change things up. Hopefully not, but
yeah.
That'll do it for our rankings. I had Commanders, Seahawks, and Rams just outside looking in. Rams were toughest one for me to keep out.
Yeah, that was a heck of a game for them. Seems like should be in a power rankings kind of game, but at 7-6, can't really put them over any of these guys.
Yep, fair. So that'll do it for this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah,
subscribe somewhere down here.
Yeah, I believe
my side
over here.
Yep, right there.
Hit that one.
Now,
and then hit this
We're
one.
going to wait until you do it.
The like, and then come down here even further, scroll down, and then leave a comment.
Tell us what you want to see besides.
Then the share button's in here somewhere. Hit that one too.
Have a good week.